Alright guys, TacticalRab again. I hope you're doing well and enjoying your day so far. Going into the season, there was one team form that was scaring the league on paper, the team that was meant to take down the other super teams of OpTic Texas and Atlanta FaZe, the world champions, and the other team that won the Esports World Cup last year. Los Angeles Thieves, however, despite starting the season very well and winning the LAN tournament that K-Sun put on a couple of months ago, they've not looked so strong once the CDL has been around, certainly over the last couple of weekends. Nadeshot, though, gives his thoughts and says he's not as frustrated with the team as he was a couple of weeks ago, certainly after the minor tournament, and reckons that there is some optimism going into Major 1 in Madrid that they could really turn it around in a LAN environment. The talent on the team is undeniably there. Will there be a different force when it comes to playing the top teams on LAN? Very much interested in your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. I would greatly appreciate it. Will HyDra turn up is another big question too. Let's talk about some new maps. This of course being Hacienda, a map that has undoubtedly improved the state of the game. These are the other two maps on Bounty and on Dealership. Now, Bounty is that, like, hotel-looking map, and again, I suppose this is like upstairs, downstairs. This doesn't look absolutely horrific. I genuinely think Bounty might have a chance. There's like a lobby here. Some of the map is like kind of blown up and destroyed a little bit, but it still seems like a reasonable overview. And it's kind of 3-lane, kind of 2-lane. I don't know. It looks a little small. The hardpoints, they are on a rotation, and I actually think the rotation of the point isn't bad. Like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's not a bad direction of the rotations. But I do think that, like, why is there no hill over here somewhere? Like, why are 2 and 4 in the same place and 1's next to 2? I don't really like that. And I also don't like this. This is, what's it called again? Dealership, yeah, with all the cars. And I understand why you're not going to want to put a hardpoint around by the cars. But, like, all the hills are in the same place. Like, is this... I don't know. We'll see what happens when the map actually arrives. But does this not seem a bit questionable to you? Map, like, hardpoint 1 is a massive hill in the middle of the map. I'm sure there's going to be some serious contesting going on there. Then 2 goes back in, which is fair. Like, 1, 2 is a good rotation. The third hill you'd expect to be, I don't know, like over here somewhere. I know that that little box over there would be impossible hardpoint to break probably, but that could just be, you know, it could be a money hill, and there could be a place to hold spawns in the back. I don't know. They've decided not to do that. They could have also put the hardpoint like here or something, but no, they've put it there instead, and then 4 is there. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm not convinced of this for hardpoint. In Search and Destroy it might work. I think the bomb sites are like here where my mouse is and like here or something. So maybe it's okay, but still looking at these maps and thinking it's not exactly ideal. Even this I thought was interesting, as Ghost of Hope mentioned last night, that apparently Sledgehammer Games, for last year's Modern Warfare 3, of course the game where they brought back all the original Modern Warfare 2 maps, they wanted to do a collaboration with Halo. And I do think for like those of us who are big Call of Duty fans, you know, I do feel bad for the guys that are Halo fans, because, man, that game, it dies every few years, and then it comes back to life a little bit for a couple of years when they drop a new game, and then it dies again. It is kind of sad. But still, they were collaborating, apparently, with Halo to bring back some old school, you know, wonderful Halo maps from the franchise. So that would be interesting if that ever happens. Would some of them work particularly well? Obviously, Halo's a very different game, different movement styles and all these things, but apparently that was a collab they were going to do, but never happened. So, again, maybe another L for the Call of Duty scene. Would have been very interesting, of course, though, because Microsoft have now, they own the whole show, right? Call of Duty and Halo, so I guess it makes sense. And if they were considering it now, maybe there's still a possibility that it could happen again in the future. Not entirely implausible, I suppose. There was also this that Scump was talking about. There's a big topic of conversation going into the major. Which players will be replaced and by who? Because in the various regions, Pred is over there in APAC, right? I think he's even been playing a little bit of, you know, competitive action. The question for me with Pred, well, there's multiple questions. One question I have, though, is actually just on visas, because he obviously had a visa sorted with OpTic, as does HyDra with Thieves. I think there was talk that HyDra over the Christmas New Year period, he went home and he had to deal with some visa complications. That's why Thieves are a little bit under practice coming into the new year compared to where they would like to have been. But, you know, you'd expect HyDra to be playing a bit better now than he seems to currently being. But still, with HyDra, he went back, got the visa sorted, came back to the States. With Pred, he was on OpTic, he had his visa with OpTic, and then they dropped him from the org. It's not like he's benched and he still has the visa. He is dropped. And I think that becomes an issue when it comes down to like timings and things, because I believe once you're no longer working for an organization, there's a certain amount of time, maybe a month or two, where that visa can be transferred to a new employer. But if that doesn't happen, then the visa goes away and you've probably got to go through the process again. Now, I'm not saying that's a massive amount of effort for like a proper team, especially someone who's had visas granted plenty of times before. I don't think it should be much of an issue. But we know that some franchises are not very good when it comes down to organizing visa applications. And it is just another hurdle, because I imagine that if Pred wants to come back in and teams want him, they probably will have to sort that out. Would it be worth it to get Pred? Probably the answer is yes, but it means that maybe some organizations wouldn't be so willing to do it. I think it's the point. The same also applies to some of the guys in Europe. Afro has been killing it. Like, you guys know that I'm a big fan of Afro. We also know that he's not been playing great over the last couple of years. You know, it didn't seem like Afro's confidence was there. Certainly at the start of last season, he was a good S&D player, but everything else just wasn't really there. But I still think Afro's got the potential. He's shown it so far in this game. He did say going into this year that he's like, you know, no other distractions, just full Call of Duty, putting his all into this title. And his team isn't actually the best in European challenges, but he's the best player in the region as it stands from most people's perspective, I would say. So Afro's a guy that could be considered, but from North America, which other challengers players are in the conversation? iLLeY definitely is. The thing is with iLLeY is that he didn't have the best tournaments in the Challengers Cup a couple of days ago, individually and as a team. He's now changing the team around, despite doing well a few weeks ago. In some respects, you're only as good as your last game. And the players that get picked up to the league are the players that have most recently done the best in challenges. And that is basically Fellow, Neptune, Craze, and Lunas, the team that won the most recent Challengers Cup. So iLLeY's always going to be in the convo, and he's played well so far this game, but I wouldn't say he's top of the list player. If there is a top of the list player to be signed to a team that's struggling, right now, I would say from an SMG perspective, Neptune has got to be in the convo, and from an AR perspective, I think, honestly, there were so many players on other teams, but the team that's been dominating lately has been with Fellow and Lunas, and Craze is also good as well. But I think from the AR side, Lunas is maybe the most talented, but Fellow, from a KD perspective, was actually frying, and we know that Fellow has some great leadership characteristics. So, I don't know, I think there's talk about, let's say, Minnesota Rocket. I'm sure that Minnesota Rocket, in their head, they already have some idea what they want to do if they bomb out of the tournaments, because let's be honest here, the Estriel Nero thing is fine. Geo has been a bit up and down, sometimes a bit of a slug, but generally pretty good. Paulex has been, you know, drawing some stinkers, and it's not been great to watch. So I think if you're Luna, you've got to have the decision that, let's say Minnesota bomb out on the Friday. I think he's straight on the phone getting the deal done, and I'm sure that they've got a player in mind. I imagine it's one of Luna's, maybe Fellow as well. I think Fellow would be an interesting one. I know that people will say, why are you bringing Fellow back into the league again? But at the same time, that Rocket team does, I think, lack, and we talked about it when it was formed, some leadership, and iLLeY might be a good candidate here as well, but some veteran presence, somebody to help them improve throughout the season, and they've not, you know, with Estriel, Nero, and Geo, they've not got that at all, and with Paulex, they don't really have that. So a guy like Fellow, I think, could actually be very valuable to that Rocker roster. But if I had to guess what they will do, they'll get Lunas, because I think they were linked to Lunas last year when they were considering making changes, which they never made. Talented AR player in challenges, it just does make a lot of sense. Is it the best move? You know, it's not a bad move, I think, if they decide to pull the trigger on that. But it depends what happened to the major. Maybe they make a godlike losers bracket run and don't need to change anything. But I wanted to share a couple of clips here on the state of the Los Angeles Thieves as it stands. The OpTic guys were talking about it the other day, discussing really HyDra and Envoy as a duo. Ronnie said it on the Dope Check show last night that he kind of compares HyDra and Envoy to Scump and Envoy back in Cold War, which is an interesting comparison, and we know that that duo, despite being excellent on paper, didn't really work in reality. If Envoy, let's say, has a poor LAN, there will be serious questions about whether, you know, HyDra should have brought Kismet with him, or whether Scrappy should have brought CleanX with him instead. I still rate Envoy very highly. I think he's an excellent player. I think there is an adjustment period for HyDra and Envoy to make this whole thing work, as there was with Pred and Shotzzy last year, let's not forget. And to be fair, it's not like FaZe were looking great a few weeks ago, and now they've really turned it around. So I think the potential is absolutely still there for Thieves, and Nadeshot was saying that despite getting very frustrated with the team and with himself a couple of weeks ago, that now has changed to some extent going forwards, and he's more optimistic about the future of the Thieves.
Yeah, would like to see HyDra maybe turn on the Jets a little bit.
I saw a Reddit post, and I want to talk about it real quick because it pertains to
to HyDra. They were talking about how this is the first time that HyDra isn't necessarily being super catered to because he's on a quote-unquote super team. If you look at his past teams, he was the player that you set up to just fry.
Yeah.
Like, everybody's trying to play
Someone's
around him to set him up. This is the first time he's had a team with this much firepower. So people think it's going to take a little bit longer for him to find that footing, and they compared it to Pred, right? If you remember Pred on our team, he had a bit of a slow stint, and then at Champs he goes and drops a 1.24 because his prior team, Seattle, it seemed like he was the guy set up for getting all the kills to be the main Slayer.
Yeah, once they figured it out, they just clicked.
So I kind of agree with that. I think HyDra is still HyDra. It's just I don't think he's used to being a part of a system like this.
I mean, with his team, I don't get what people want him to do. There's not even enough kills to go around.
Yeah. Scrappy.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, Scrappy's been playing well besides Hacienda Hardpoint. Holy shit. I mean, Ghosty's been playing well as of recent, and then Dylan at the start of the year is playing well. So they're all getting kills. But the one thing that like kind of confuses me is that Dylan is similar to Kismet in that he's a selfless submachine gun player.
But they're different though, because I think Envoy is like a rattier, slower version of Kismet. Like,
that's fair.
Kismet's like a bulldozer, is the way I view him.
Down.
He's like the Rhino villain from the Spider-Man,
But Dill's not doing it as consistently. I agree with that.
Like, Dill is more like late pinch, sit in a corner, flanking two-piece. Kismet's more, I'm going to slide through that doorway. Paco, follow me
Get
up.
a two-piece.
It's a different type of selfless.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So we tweeted yesterday, almost brought it back. Hopefully the boys can catch some momentum at Major 1. GG's to Boston. We know the talent is there. Just got to take advantage of opportunities when we have them. I had a bunch of people. What the fuck is this? Oh, my God. I had a few people talk about, oh, bro, PR tweet, PR, dude, just trying to act right for the sake of acting right. Because if you go back and look at my Twitter, yes, I have been tweaking about our teams losing. To be honest with you, bro, after doing some like self-reflection without sounding too dramatic, it's hard for you guys to understand how it actually felt to get this team together, just because it was like a 3-week window where I was riding highs and lows of, oh my God, we got this team. And then 2 days later, we don't hear from the players. And now the team isn't coming to 100 Thieves. And everybody was super excited. And to be honest with you, bro, like, it was the community that said it first, but everybody was saying, oh, super team, super team, super team. It's not like I went out on Twitter and YouTube and Twitch and was like, hey, bro, this is the super team, and you guys need to believe that. This super team was labeled by the community. After we lost to Boston Breach yesterday, I don't think I was even close to as tweaked out as I was when we lost, that series versus FaZe a couple weeks ago. I think Major 1 could actually go really well for Thieves. I think there's a few small things that we need to clean up, and we know the talent's there. I think we just need to give the boys a little bit more time to get their chemistry down. You've got 4 players that have never played together with each other, and they're obviously trying to like find their identity and find their, their footing. But I think Major 1 genuinely could be good. I feel optimistic in a weird way. Even though the boys have looked a little frazzled, I got this weird feeling that Major 1's going to go better than some people expect after the last couple days and last couple matches that we played.
So I think Nadeshot's probably doing the right thing here, calming it down a little bit. Of course, like, he's still going to go by his own emotions. We always know that Nade wears his heart on his sleeve, right? But, I think he feels a bit more confident now, probably having talked to the guys, understanding what the situation is. And it's not like Thieves are looking bad. I mean, at the end of the day, they were 5-2 in the qualifiers. They, let's be real, should have beaten OpTic. I mean, should have is always a word that I never like using, because if you didn't, then, you didn't, did you? But, look, they're up 5-1, game 5 on OpTic. Like, they could have won that series, right? They absolutely could have won that round 7, and we'd be having a very different conversation where OpTic would not be the number 1 seed. Thieves would be ahead of OpTic because they'd be 6-1 with a head-to-head tiebreaker. So it would be a very different conversation. And OpTic clutched up and Thieves choked. Absolutely no getting around that. But the point still is there that it's not like Thieves are bad. Like, people are talking about Thieves like they've got no chance. I don't agree with that. I think that FaZe is still potentially vulnerable. We also know that FaZe in a grand finals on LAN, there's always a bit of a question mark there, how they might potentially perform. And Thieves still have maybe the most talented roster in the world, certainly right up there. So I think there's no way you can entirely rule them out. I know that Nadeshot's confident about them as well. He says, oh, the community called them a super team, but let's be real, like, everyone's going to call those guys a super team with what they put together. Certainly with Scrap and HyDra on board, 2 of the best 4 players in the world last year. This was Nade's reaction on the 12th of January, or maybe the 11th his time, when they lost to FaZe at the minor, and he says, the foot was taken off the gas pedal, figure it out, Thieves, don't want to see our guys log off the game and all this, right? So Nadeshot was fuming at the time. Now I think he's more confident to say, all right, the guys know what they're doing. They've got room for improvement. They're going to do exactly that. The first major of the season isn't everything anyway, but they need to get a good result. I think Thieves, Thieves obviously have to make the Sunday. Anything less than that is unacceptable. And, top 3 or finals, I think would be, like, okay, we can work from here type thing. But they need to be in that conversation. But I think they can do one better, to be honest. Like, I look at the way that things have been going, and sure, is HyDra been great online? No, but that's online, and LAN could be a different story. The pace of the game might be different slightly. HyDra and Envoy might work better in that environment. HyDra will have many more highlights on the year. Like, yes, he might not be great statistically on this game so far because of the way that the team is working and putting HyDra maybe in a position that he's not super comfortable with. I think he'll learn that over time, and the talent is still there. So I think that Thieves are probably getting a little bit overlooked this tournament. I think basically everyone has OpTic or FaZe taking the win, and I totally get that. And in terms of percentage chances, I'd probably say the same thing. But I think Thieves, you can't rule them out. Like, the team is too talented, and they've not been that bad. I mean, as I say, they were 5-1 up Game 5 against OpTic just a few days ago, it feels like. And even if it doesn't go round 11 and Envoy just wins the 1v1 against Kenny, who was one-shot, we're still having a very different conversation about Thieves. And that's very, very marginal differences. So we'll see what happens at the tournament. Of course, they play Ravens in the first round. If they win that, they probably play OpTic. So it could be an OpTic Thieves game early on. If they win that, they probably play FaZe. So Thieves have a hard bracket, really, because they play Ravens, maybe the best team outside of the theoretical best teams. Then if they win that, they probably play OpTic. If they win that, they probably play FaZe. And then in the finals, they'd probably play a similar team as well. So Thieves have a difficult bracket, but if they lose, I think they play Falcons. So at least they've they've got a losers bracket run kind of locked in to some extent. But very much interested in your thoughts on all of this stuff in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care, and I'll see you next time.